The campaign trail in the battleground state of Ohio today, Senator Barack Obama slammed rival John McCain's mortgage rescue plan. Listen to how he put it.
His first response to the housing crisis in March was that homeowners shouldn't get any help at all. Then a few weeks ago, he put out a plan that basically ignored homeowners. Now, in the course of 12 hours, he's ended up with a plan that punishes taxpayers, rewards banks, and won't solve our housing crisis. But this is the kind of erratic behavior we've been seeing out of Senator McCain. You remember the first day of this crisis, he came out and said the economy was fundamentally sound. Then 2 hours later, he said we were in a crisis. I don't think we can afford that kind of erratic and uncertain leadership in these uncertain times. We need steady leadership in the White House. We need a president we can trust in times of crisis. And that's why I'm running for president of the United States of America.
While Obama says Senator McCain's plan to have the government buy up bad home loan mortgages and renegotiate their value would burden taxpayers, McCain charges it's the Democrats who bear a large part of the blame for the subprime mortgage meltdown.
These are somber times, and they're difficult times.
I'm a realtor, witnessing firsthand the effect the mortgage crisis has had on many people's lives. Will you assure us that as president, you will take immediate action to investigate, prosecute, and name the names of the people actually responsible?
I will. And it is already a matter of record that Democrat members of Congress fought against reform, and it's a matter of record and hearings that they said everything was fine. Senator Obama a year ago said these kinds of subprime loans are, quote, fine with him. And the fact is that the same people that are now claiming credit for this rescue are the same ones that were willing co-conspirators in causing this problem that it is. And you know their names. And you will know more of their names. Congressman Barney Frank and Senator Chris Dodd are two of them.
Unemployment, a mortgage meltdown, and a spiraling financial crisis. Some say we're to blame, and the candidates are just too afraid to admit it. Joining us to talk more about that, Republican consultant Alex Castellanos and Democratic strategist Jennifer Palmieri. That charge comes from Rick Santorum. He says that borrowers are to share the blame for the mortgage crisis. He said this, he said, quote, none of this financial collapse would have occurred, however, without the participation of one last group of bad actors, a group so powerful that most politicians have avoided railing against it, American borrowers. Is that true, Alex? And are the politicians just too afraid to say it?
You know, I don't think that blaming the consumer is the way for Republicans to go here. When somebody gives you poisoned candy, you don't blame the people who ate it. You blame the people who make it and who sell it. And there's plenty of blame to go around here for Wall Street and Washington for encouraging a system that makes it easy for people to borrow more than they can afford, and for that encouraged banks to do the same, and then said, hey, banks, you don't have to hold those bad loans. We'll put them on the, we'll take them off your hands and securitize them. So no, I think that's a mistake for Republicans to do that.
And Jennifer, what do you think of that statement? I mean, well, when people go for loans, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. You know, we're all taught that, yet a lot of people got into these loans. Do they bear any responsibility?
Right. Well, I think that, you know, it's not as if Wall Street did what they did because their doors are being beaten down by homeowners and American consumers who demanded these loans. You know, they did it because they thought that they could make money off of it. So there is a lot of people responsible, but I find the idea that, you know, that Senator McCain is trying to perpetuate that somehow, you know, two Democratic members of the House of Representatives who have only been in the majority for 2 years, while George Bush has been president for 8 years and has been in charge of oversight of Wall Street and of our banking laws, and that it's ridiculous.
Well, what do you say to that, Alex? Because, I mean, there's plenty of evidence here, and I talked to Barney Frank about this, that back in the early part of this decade, he was suggesting that there didn't appear to be any kind of immediate problem, at the very least, with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And then this was at a time when the White House was trying to institute some form of reform.
Well, I work at an ad agency in Washington, and we do work for banks, and I even worked for Freddie Mac. Certainly, I've not ever done any lobbying, but full disclosure there. But one of the things that this didn't start a couple of years ago, Jennifer, as you know, during the Clinton years, they wanted to encourage home ownership, the tyranny of good intentions. And with the best of intentions, they lowered lending standards. What happens? You created a system where banks were incentivized to make bad loans. And then they said, hey, look, we'll put those loans. We'll put them somewhere where you banks won't have to hold them. And they created this perverse system with the best of intentions. And look where we are today. You know, you can't distort. This is what happens when Washington and Wall Street get together to really, you know, inside ball, advantage themselves. Ultimately, consumers suffer.
And Jennifer, let me just switch gears here, if I could. There's a lot of talk in Democratic circles and among Democratic strategists of a potential landslide victory for Barack Obama at this point, maybe 320 to 340 electoral votes, depending on how the states break. Are some Democrats allowing themselves to get a little bit too cocky here? I mean, there's still a lot of time left in this campaign.
Nobody I know is getting too cocky. I mean, if anything, I think that, and I believe I've complained on this show sometimes that while I love my party, it's a lot of hand-wringers in there that get very anxious. I mean, it was only a few weeks ago where everybody was speculating that that Senator Obama had somehow blown this and it had been his to lose, and McCain was going to run away with it. So people are, it's obviously going well, but they're very anxious. They would love for the election to be held tonight. And I don't think that it will be a landslide. I don't know anyone in the Democratic Party who thinks it's going to be a landslide.
Well, what about from where you stand, Alex? When you look at these numbers in the polls in the battleground states, and you see a lot of the toss-up states now leaning toward Barack Obama, a lot of states that were leaning John McCain, or at least a couple of states that were leaning John McCain, have now gone into the toss-up category. Is there the potential here for an Obama landslide?
Well, I think we all know this is a tough years for Republicans. As a friend of mine was just telling me not long ago, hey, some years you're the windshield, some years you're the bug. and this is a tough year. However,
is this a bug year or a windshield year?
Well, Carville was saying, James Carville was saying the other day, hey, wrap it up. This election is done. And I think the process is almost self-correcting. Democrats want to be careful about thinking like that because voters want their vote to have the highest possible value. And if they see that in the next few weeks Democrats are saying, hey, this one is done, if they'll begin to look at, well, what kind of president would Barack Obama be? A little buyer's remorse. And the second thing is, well, my vote doesn't matter unless I vote against the prevailing trend here. So the highest, the most valuable use of my vote may be to correct that.
Yeah, I have to agree with everything that Alex just said. You have to be careful about that.
Well,
that's rare, so I wanted to pipe up and offer that.
I'm in Boston with the Red Sox fans, and they know not to count your victories.
Exactly.
I was going to say that you and Jennifer agreeing, Alex, that in and of itself is remarkable. Thanks very much, folks. We'll see you again real soon.